reset it. And the reason why I reset it is that when I mark the margins on both the central and the lateral, I can actually see where I've marked the margin. So if you're going to seed a layer, and by any chance these margins touch or intersect, then it doesn't seed, it gives you an error. Okay? See, there's a margin that I've marked. All right, so now I just mark this one. Okay, my bad here, sorry. You know what I've done wrong, right?
Yeah.
At least I recognized my fault right at the beginning before to reset. So I usually say, notice the highlighted tooth before marking the margin, and I commit that mistake. So do that. Serious.
What
I might be
happened?
gaming today. What do you usually say? Third time lucky?
Xưa nó nên đi trứng vịt lộn ra xôi. Ăn mấy trứng. Ngồi suy nghĩ biết ăn mấy trứng.
Alright, now you pick your insertion axis.
Đây làm gì vậy?
Just guarantee that I've got now what I do is just kind of like position where I want it to be. So let's just say that I want it like that. This one. All right, so now I have an option here. So if I select adapted, what it does, it takes my minimal thickness, takes everything into account and just calculates to that and it adapts it. But I want the software to actually just calculate the restorations where I actually positioned them, okay? So if I edit. So the idea here is that if a tooth is rotating and we want to straighten the smile for whatever reason, okay, this is just an example because the smile on this patient is quite nice. But let's say that it's actually sort of rotated too much and the patient wants to actually have a nice straight smile. When we do the mock-up, right? So now what I'll do is I'll smooth this out, but you'll notice that there's like two tones of gray here. So you've got that gray and you've got that one. So this is when I mill it out, that bit there, you'll have the actual tooth protruding. So then when they assess that, then it aids that, okay, I need to prep more on this. So they'll use this as a mock-up. They can assess how the smile's gonna look. But at the same time, if they want to go ahead with the treatment, they can actually use this to aid on the prepping. So they know that this area here needs to be more prepped than that one. So sometimes you don't even have to touch the mesial side, you just have to prep the distal and just create a nice margin around it. Do you understand? So having that window, then they know, the dentist will know that, okay, this is too much, so I've got to prep more on that side, okay? So what I do basically just design that. So I'm not going to spend too much time designing this, but it's just smoothing it all out. And you spend the time you require to make it really look pretty for the patient, okay? But because we actually don't have any patients, so we're good to go. So so you basically just design what you think you need to do here, okay? Then if this is the case where we need, so let's say that this is your design, so this is what we want. Then from here we go to edit connector, and when you finalize, when you take it to milling, you'll notice that there are areas over here that are kind of like different color. That will have a hole on your temporary material. So when the dentist positions these templates in the mouth, the smile has been corrected, but then they know, okay, that's protruding, so I need to prep more. If by any chance the tooth is a bit long, then what they do is they'll incise the ledge or the cusp or whatever that's coming out of that mock-up that you've done.
Yeah.
They'll paint it with a black marker, and then they put like a black sort of reflector, take a photograph, and then the patient, when they smile, they don't really see that. It just looks one because of the black background. So when they assess that, they say, okay, that's what I want. And then you know that you're in the right track. So they prep according to that. Make sense? So this is one way of, like, you mill it out, send it to the dentist, and they can do that. If you are able to print, then all I do is I seat the layer, okay? And if I go to, then all I do is basically I want to create a model from that. If I go to model, then your design is that. So all I do now is I print this and I send it to the dentist so they can show the patient this is before, this is after.
Yes.
All right? So it's two ways you can do this.
Yes.
Or you can do both ways. It's entirely up to you. All right? So that's your basically workflow for digital sort of like wax ups in a way.